So welcome back to another podcast. I guess episode. I want to say podcast episode to the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. I am Stephen Brock, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Derick Brown. Say hello, Derick.
Hello. How
We
you
are
doing,
loan
buddy?
off doing great. So we're loan officers with the mortgage firm down in Florida throughout the United States, but we're both located in Central and South Florida. So how was let's go straight to our weekend. How was your weekend?
It was good. Stayed busy. We did a bunch of outside cleaning at the house. Like pressure washed our patio, cleaned the roof, all kinds of stuff. So got our garage a little bit more organized. And then yesterday played in the pool a little bit, and then after nap time went to Disney.
That
Back to
part.
Disney again.
I
So
didn't realize. I mean, you told me you were at Disney, but it's like for me, I'm always like, okay, that's okay. I got to plan that. Like 2 hour drive up there. Like you just like, all right, it's 45 minutes. We're there. Well,
yep, after
afternoon.
nap, hopped in the car, went for it. You know, there was a couple things like we forgot our fans. I was a little upset about that. But I mean, for the most part, we just hop in and go. We're close
That's
enough. It's easy, then we're have dinner out there, come back, do bath, bed. There you
yeah,
go.
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Got to ride Guardians of the Galaxy. That was
Best ride
fun.
ever. Greatest
Yeah.
ride.
What about you, man? Anything exciting?
Uh, what do we do? Saturday, just typical house stuff. Um, then we went to my wife won tickets to go see New Kids on the Block. So we went to there. So, my wife's teenager self came out for that part of it.
Yikes.
That was fun. I think I was probably one out of 10 husbands in the whole entire place.
Good for you.
But it was good. My brother-in-law went, my sister, and all of them went. So we all went to go, eat and drink before and then went there. So it was good. And then
Nice.
then we realized that we are in our 30s and 40s, and the next day our bodies are not recovering so well. So
Dude,
we
it's
just
so sad.
it is. So we
It's
just hung around
it's
the pool. We didn't do much kind of
yeah,
stuff. So
mid 30s. You don't think it's that old. And for me, like, because we went to Morgan Wallen concert last week. No, 2 weeks ago or whatever.
yeah, before he
Um,
canceled.
yeah, well, we went on Thursday.
You got it. You got in.
Thankfully, we went on Thursday. He didn't seem sick, but Friday, apparently, he was too sick to perform. And dude, social media was blown up. That guy might be sick. He might have been sick, under the weather, couldn't like perform at his greatest ability or whatever he was saying. And people are like, he was at the strip clubs and drinking all night with cocaine. And it's like, you don't know that. Like he might just
Well,
be sick.
he did cancel everything till October, so he might be in somewhere. That's the rumor.
Oh,
Yeah. It wasn't just he canceled one, he canceled a lot.
dang. Well, I will say that he canceled Friday, like early afternoon, like right before it was supposed to start. Like people had driven like across Florida to go to the concert, and
Yeah.
they were getting into Tampa when they got canceled. So, but props to Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll like told everybody like stay put, hold on, let me figure something out, and then had like a little show at some bar.
Yeah.
I think it held like 2,500 people. So it was like if you've got a ticket, you can come in for free. Um, but
Good for him.
yeah, I don't know. Well,
Oh,
let's get on to today's topic:
let's do it.
VA home loans. So we're talking about VA. So for veterans, um, I think it's one of the best loans in America. Um, but we're going to be discussing like how they differ from conventional or FHA loans. There's a lot of differences. I don't know, Steven, tell me like your favorite parts of a VA loan. Like when somebody asks you, like, I'm a veteran, but I don't know anything about the VA loan. Like, what can you tell me as far as bullet points go?
Well, I think one, I'm a little biased. I think it's the best loan because I am a veteran myself, so I've used it.
Thank you for your service, Steven.
Thank you. I mean, it's a little obvious if you're watching us on YouTube or something of all the military stuff behind me. But on the VA loan, one of the biggest things is it's zero down, no down payment at all.
Zero down.
big zero down. So that is huge. But also with that is, okay, if you're putting a low down payment, conventional FHA, there is mortgage insurance. VA says there is no mortgage insurance. So zero down, no mortgage insurance, that automatically has more buying power right there.
Right.
Your chances of approval are higher because instead of going off of just a regular, hey, this is the DTI number that you need or less, it goes off of residual income, which residual income means what can you actually afford with childcare, with vacations kind of planning there. They have a calculation in there and say, hey, you can actually afford this percentage of your
Right.
income to do it. So you're not just becoming house poor. So I have approved somebody, traditionally like FHA is about 57, conventional.
Like your absolute max on the
Yeah.
back end ratio is 57. Conventional, what, 50?
Yeah. You
Going Freddie,
can
sometimes you can squeeze
49,
out
50. Yeah. You can get it right in there. I have
which
done a
I don't
VA
like
at
those,
6.
by the way.
No, that doesn't make it. Means your
Unless
house
you've got
poor.
a spouse or somebody else living in the house that's going to contribute towards the mortgage and stuff like that. We try not to put somebody in a loan where they're using majority of their income to pay for the mortgage. However, technically it is approvable at
Yeah.
those ratios sometimes.
And a VA loan doesn't have one technically. It has
Right.
you need residual income. You need to have so much money depending on the calculation of your household, how much money do you have left over a month? So I've had it where it's 65. We've
Yep.
had somebody approve on DTI. So it just depends.
Same.
And there's no loan limit. That's the other thing. There's no actual loan limit on there.
Oh, but Steven, my other lender said that there is a loan limit.
There isn't. They're using the calculation. What they changed it was in 2020, 2021 that
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
new the blue I think it was a blue act something. They changed it where there is no loan limit. Now you might go over the conventional side MBA jumbo VA towards your county, so there might be a little bit more restrictions, but there is no actual loan limit.
Correct. Yeah. So when it comes to eligible borrowers, I mean, we're saying VA, we're talking about veterans. So it's kind of self-explanatory. Veterans and active military are eligible personnel, correct?
Yes.
Now, I've done it where it's the spouse of a deceased veteran that was eligible.
It can't
Are
be.
there any other eligible borrowers outside of those parameters?
Well, you got to also remember, like active duty, just because you went to boot camp, you're in 6 months, doesn't actually qualify you as a veteran yet. There are qualifications how long you have to be in.
Right.
I mean, we're not in any major conflict anymore, but if you're one day in combat, you're automatically a veteran, no matter if you've been in for, like I was in like 6 months and then suddenly went to Iraq and now I'm a veteran, where it's usually it could be a 2-year wait if you don't deploy. So there
Gotcha.
are stipulations on the active part of it, being a veteran. I can't think of anybody else that qualifies for it. Not on just getting a VA loan. That
Gotcha.
would be,
Okay. And then when it comes to eligibility,
it really comes down to your entitlement. So this is basically the maximum amount that the Veterans, right? Is it a Veteran Administration, Veterans
Veteran
Affairs, Department of
Affairs.
Air? They will guarantee of a VA loan. So they're instead of having like mortgage insurance, the VA is basically being that mortgage insurance for the Department of Veterans Affairs. They're actually going in there and saying, hey, we guarantee this loan. They guarantee up to 25%. So it makes the lender say, hey, I can give you this loan with zero down because worst case scenario, you fault on it. The insurance policy from the VA is kicking in. I'm going to get 25%. And then they could sell the house and probably recoup all their money back. That's what they're looking at.
Hey,
So
fun fact also, VA loans are the highest performing loans in America. Did you know that?
I do now.
So comparing conventional, FHA, other non-QM loans and stuff like that, veterans make their payments and do not default on their loan. Or if they do, it is a lot less than any other type of loan. So anybody thinking like, oh, well, they put 0% down, probably not a good loan. They're going to end up foreclosing. Nope, actually, not the case. That's been proven wrong. Highest performing loan in America.
And it's also, we're talking about the entitlement, the eligibility of coming with it. This is the biggest misconception is most people think you can only use your VA loan one time, and that is it. And that is not true. You can use it multiple times. You can have multiple VA loans at the same time. Now
Hey, there
you're
you go.
buying the house as your primary. So when you're buying and using the VA loan, you're using it as your primary, but you could have another house that you are going to rent out now or whatever, make it an investment property and not sell it and still technically use your VA loan. Now your eligibility is less. So what you might have to come to the table with a down payment depending on the calculation of your eligibility. But I don't want people to think, oh, I can't use the VA loan because I already have one. Yes, you can. You might have to come with some down payment in there. You might not have to at all, depending. But that's where it's the biggest thing
Yeah,
is.
and I think that a lot of that just comes down to where the loan amount is and stuff. Because what was it last year? Anyways, in the past, I had a veteran who wanted to keep his current home, but keep it as a rental and wanted to buy a new home, wanted to know if he could use his VA loan again. So came down to doing quick math on the entitlement. Sure enough, he had enough left that he could buy his next primary residence with 0% down while keeping his current one. Now, first loan amount was around like 200 and something thousand. Second loan amount was, I think, right at like 300, and worked out for him. No down payment. I have another customer right now doing the same exact thing, except significantly higher loan amounts. And he does have to bring a little bit of money to the table. He's got to bring a down payment. So it really just depends on where that entitlement is, but it's a simple calculation. We fill out a worksheet that determines how much, entitlement is remaining. And then that tells us how much of a down payment we have to bring.
Yeah.
In order to have two VA loans at the same time. So, and that's where like there's a lot of misconceptions because other lenders might say like, no, you can't have two at the same time. Well, you can. We've done it. Some lenders are going to say like, oh, well, there's a loan limit. We've got to follow the conforming loan limit of the county. And then from there, we do a calculation, divide by the difference in 25 and this and that, the calculation we used to do back in the day, no longer have to do that.
Yeah.
There is no loan limit. So I was talking with a veteran. This is a few months ago. They wanted to buy a $1.2 million home. And they're like, we could bring like $100,000 to the table, but our current lender is saying that we have to bring a lot more to hit conforming loan limit for the county. And that was just wrong. So we closed a $1.1 million VA loan.
Now, what the other stipulation is, okay, you have your VA funding fee with it.
Yep.
So the VA funding fee is basically that's your mortgage insurance on it, except if you have a disability through the VA. So if you are a veteran with a disability, they waive that. And it's as low as waiving it at 10%. You have a 10% disability at all, they will
No
waive that
funding
funding
fee.
fee. So
Yep.
that is a huge thing. And what's really good about this is any veteran I mean, I'm like, hey, have you been deployed? Yes, yes, blah, blah, blah. When you're getting mortgage, I'm like, go file. Go file for it right now. Because what
Right.
happens is they backdate you. So even in my personal instance, what happened is I started for my VA disability. We bought a house during that process. Half or after we bought the house, probably like 6 months later, my VA disability was approved. They gave back my funding fee because it was backdated to the day that I filed for disability, which was before we bought our house. So that is a huge thing. So you might have to pay for it up front, which it goes onto the loan amount. So they added on to the loan amount, but they actually paid us. They paid me and my wife back on that. We just had only had a check sitting in our bank account for that
That's
VA
what I was
funding
just
fee.
about to ask. Did they like reimburse you with a check?
Yeah, it was wired right into my account. It was funny is that was the first thing to hit my account was that VA funding fee. I was like, why does the Department of Treasury sending me this money? Like I had no clue. Like I'm sitting there trying to calculate, I'm like, okay, if I got 10% disability this many months, like trying to figure it out. And then suddenly like a day or two later, another thing hit and then another thing hit from them because of all these back pay things. And then suddenly, like a week later, because they mail everything, I got the letter in the mail saying, hey, we've refunded your VA funding fee. Hey, you've been approved for this. But the first thing that came back was that VA funding fee. As soon as they
Right.
approved me, they're like, boom, funding fee was back. So that is a huge, huge thing. Any veteran I meet that's going for, I'm like, if you don't have it, apply because you most likely will get, especially if you didn't deployed.
Right. And then let's just say you don't have any disability. The funding fee, first time use, subsequent use, Depends on your down payment, but it's just tiered on the percentage of what that funding fee is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
Your first time use, first time ever using a VA loan, it's the cheapest. And then it goes a little like, hey, are you putting, I think it's 0 to 5, 5 to 10, and or
yeah,
technically 5.1 to 9999, like 10 and a little bit over. That's where
right.
they change it at.
Yeah.
What about credit scores?
Another hot topic that has a little, misconception with it. Technically, the VA does not have a credit score requirement. Where you're going to see a score requirement is the lender that is doing the VA loan. So that's where we have VA overlays. So like our company, for example, it technically we don't have a credit score requirement, but we sell our loans onto the secondary market after we close them. So we have to sell them to an investor that'll take it. And their requirement is 580. So that's why we say our credit score requirement is a 580 for VA loans. Not because that's what VA says, but that's just, what we have to do in order to sell it.
Yeah.
So you might be able to find another lender out there that does not have a credit score requirement for VA.
And I have a couple buddies that are at companies that do not require it. And I mean, they'll try to help them get their credit score up, but it is not, they're like, it's not the prettiest. The rate is super high. But I always look at it like, okay, can we help you get your credit score up to pass that threshold? Yes. Okay, let's do that. If we don't have that time or we can't do it for whatever reason, then I'm like, this is your only option. And I refer them over there because actually VA doesn't require it, but it's not pretty. So you're going to most likely refinance out of it. And is that your favorite topic, Derick, you put in here? Your favorite topic is a refinance a VA loan?
Well, yeah, I think anytime refinancing that makes sense in order to help somebody save on their mortgage payment, or help pay off the mortgage sooner, or bring it down to favorable terms. My favorite refinance is the VA IRRRL, the interest rate reduction refinance loan. Just because it's so easy for veterans to qualify. We basically look at it like you qualified for this mortgage at a higher percent or interest rate. And so if you've already qualified for it and interest rates are lower, we're just going to give you that lower interest rate and get rid of a lot of the fees that are associated with refinancing. So it's a very cheap and easy way to refinance your loan. If you already have a VA loan, do an interest rate reduction refinance loan to lower the interest rate. The closing costs are nearly cut in half. There's no appraisal needed. There's no income review. We just have to make sure that you have.
Hey, what's your house worth?
Yeah.
Yep. Check. Hey, do you have a job still? Yep. Check. Yeah. Like that's it.
Done. But I've also done it where somebody was in a conventional loan and we refinanced to a VA loan because back in the day they were told that they had to do this or that, or they maybe built the house, so custom home builder. They went the conventional route to do that. So there's just a lot of different reasons why somebody might be in a conventional loan or something else, and then we refinance to a little bit better terms with VA, and go there. So yeah, I do like trying to help veterans, with the interest rate reduction refinance loan. I love saying that too. IRRRL, IRRRL.
Yeah, I had somebody the other day. They're like the IRRRL. How do you say it?
Don't you growl at me? It's a refinance.
So what wanted to go over one other part with it. So you're saying like other lenders will tell people they should go conventional on some of their stuff. I think that's guideline wise, biased wise, anything else looking at a VA loan. The VA loan is actually the best loan that is out there. Terms, conditions that come on it, qualifying the borrower. It is the best loan that's out there. So if anybody ever tells you like, oh, you shouldn't use your VA loan, they're just wrong. Maybe they don't do them. They're not familiar with it, or they're just, completely wrong in that stance.
Or they're stuck in the past where like VA loans got a bad rap.
Yeah.
Or they had a bad experience before because somebody was selling a crappy house, that needed repairs. And they're like, oh, well, it's because we're trying to do a VA loan, So then like repairs had to be done. There's a really good chance that repairs needed to be done regardless of the type of loan.
Yeah. And they're looking, okay, so some big myths on it is that there's a VA home inspection, talking about things that need to be fixed. There's a VA home inspection. There isn't. The only thing that the VA requires that an inspection that's done is a WDO, the wood destroying organism. So like wood rot, termites, they want to make sure basically the house is good. Now, there is a VA appraiser that's a VA certified, which I think most of the appraisers that we use in our area are VA certified. So
Right.
it's the same appraiser that's going out there that if
Yeah,
it was
to appraise
conventional
conventional or FHA loans, they're
yeah,
doing VA too.
yeah, exactly the same. Now they will look for safety issues. Hey,
Right.
there's exposed wire hanging out of the wall. Well, yeah, inspection would have came up, but that's going to come up on anything. Like there's things that they're going to look for to make sure that and it's just safety issues. That's what they're looking
Right.
for.
Yeah, health and safety. And even if like, so let's just say a house is a little bit overpriced, go under contract, VA, like we get Tidewater. That's a heads up that the appraisal is going to come in low.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than the appraisal just come in and like, oh, it's low. Now we've got to renegotiate and try to come to terms or whatever. So at least with VA, you get that heads up with Tidewater, and then you've got what, 48 hours to submit comps to try and prove like why, it should be this price or whatever. And there's times where, we've sent comps and comes in fine. We've also gotten Tidewater because it was like $1,000 less. Just $1,000, no big deal. We figured that out,
Yeah. Now I will say on a VA loan, you can't rush the appraisals. They're 10 business days, right? 10 business days from when we order the appraisal to when it comes that is due back. So there is no rush on it. That is the standard time. Does it come back early? Yes, all the time, especially the market's not, going like crazy, but there is no rush on it. That's what it is. So another thing I want to say, there is no VA lender. There's no VA vetted lender where the VA says, here are our lenders. That's not a true thing. I see people do it all the time. There is no actual list. The VA just guarantees the loan stuff. So everything has to be pushed through the VA for them to approve it, but that is it.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of, and even the names of the lender can get confusing. They just think like, oh, well, they're associated with the VA, or they're from the VA. Not the case. Veterans United, nope. Just another lender. Navy Fed, another lender or bank.
Yeah, that's a bank. Yeah, credit union. So want to go over some myths that we already hit on some of them. So we said no VA home inspection, no VA vetted lender. You can hold more than one VA loan at one time. The biggest thing is too, this is almost any loan, but you can buy them. I've told people like, oh, I can't buy a multifamily unit with a VA loan. Yes, you can. You can buy up to a 4-unit residence as long as you're going to live in one of those units and you can rent out the other 3.
If you're buying a duplex, you live in one side.
Yeah.
If you're buying a triplex, you live in one unit. It's got to be your primary residence.
Yeah.
So,
and it's 4 units and below. That's with any loan, because then it becomes a commercial property when you are buying 5 or more units.
Right.
You say you can use your loan multiple times.
I think one of the other misconceptions too is that like VA loans take longer. Not the case. Not with us.
At all. No. Yeah. Maybe
I can't speak for other lenders, but for us, no. Super easy. We can close them just as fast as we can do a conventional or FHA loan.
Another thing is, I've had this actually happen, is so when you're buying a primary residence, you are signing up that you're going to move into the house within 60 days, unless the VA will approve you to go up to 6 months without living in there because of deployment, whatever the case is. They will approve that. I've had somebody where they were buying one with their spouse down in Florida. He was deployed. The spouse was up north somewhere. They were buying a house here. She wasn't going to be here for like 3 or 4 months, and the VA approved that they could still buy it as a primary resident. So you can definitely still.
I had a situation. However, the wife was moving here, and our veteran was finishing out like his service up north, and basically had like around 8 more months or something like that. He thought he hadn't like set up for retirement or anything yet. But then he ended up getting a transfer after that 8 months, came down here, and I think he actually just retired. So now they're both living in Florida, living the Florida life.
There you go. So what are some other misconceptions or advices you might have?
I think that's it, man. I think we covered it.
So any homeowner that's this is where I get is when the homeowner people, if there's a realtor that steers you away from accepting a VA loan, you need to take a second look at that, because unless there is some safety issue, which you live there or you own the house, you'll know there's some safety issue that they're steering you away from accepting a VA loan. That is a red flag.
Yeah. I can tell you this actually has nothing to do with VA loans. One of the best pieces of advice that I can give to a homeowner that is thinking about selling their house is to get a pre-listing inspection done. Have an inspector come into your home and do an inspection just like they would if it was a buyer coming in to do the inspection. It'll give you a heads up on what needs to be done. Here are some health, safety issues, structure issues, or hopefully, like, hey, like there's just a little minor leak under the kitchen sink that you should probably address. Otherwise, everything's in great order. That'd be perfect. But it at least gives you a heads up on what a buyer might find when when you've accepted an offer. That way you're not getting surprised later on down the road, a couple weeks into, being listed. So before listing your house, get a pre-listing inspection.
Always. That's a huge thing.
I've done it twice and it saved me both times. I had a buyer go under contract. They went through their inspection period and did not come back with anything.
Yeah. You know exactly what's happening.
Exactly.
There's no surprises to you. They might ask you for something, but you're like, I already know what's happening, kind of thing.
Right.
So either I fixed it or there was nothing. So good to go.
Correct.
All right. Well, that is our episode on VA loans. This has been brought to you by Brutally Honest Loan Officer, Mr. Derick Brown and Stephen Brock with the mortgage firm. Derick, say goodbye to everybody.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.